Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat. It's good to be with you as the colder temperatures of the month of December start to descend. However, I have an enormously warm part of my heart that's connected to Judy Zarubik, who's on the other end of this recording, who makes the tech look seamless, even though Judy and I know how much work it takes to make it happen that way. So thank you, Judy, for making all of that happen. We are now into the second week of Advent, and many of us follow the delightful tradition of marking each day of preparation and of waiting through an Advent calendar. It can often be a time of contemplation and of philosophical or theological insight. In our digital age, here's a hilarious take on the evolution of recorded music across the generations. Instead of making lemonade out of lemons, when baking tragedy strikes at Christmas, here's a suggestion. We got a dump of snow at the beginning of last week, but the kids delighted in making snow people. You know, I wondered, what do those snow people do in the cold? Be careful sending out your husband on an errand when he's thirsty. When the family is inside, do you ever notice that nobody seems to replace the toilet paper roll when it runs out? For the musicians watching, not to mention our staff team, if you want a warmer place during the cold of winter, especially those who are missing their annual trip south, because of this pandemic, some Christmas music has been rewritten. With so many of us working from home on our computers, even farmers are crashing from the stress. This past Sunday, we marked our preparation for peace. Many young families are struggling as they juggle working from home while taking care of their kids. They're trying to do it all. Far too many of us find ourselves hustling. However, we need to destroy the idea that we must be constantly working the grind in order to be not just successful, but fulfilled. Well, the video I want to share with you was originally posted way back in April when the pandemic lockdown was new. It probably means even more now that we are in the middle of the second wave of this pandemic. It is a parody of the song One Day More from one of my favorite musicals, Les Miserables. It was conceived and created by Matthew and Emily Woolever. Matthew is a music director for performing arts at Rhinebeck in New York State, and previously worked for 3 years as the music teacher at Hyde Park Central School District. Enjoy his wonderful voice and wry humor.
One day more, another day, another destiny, this never-ending road of quarantine. These people have coronavirus, leaders trying to inspire us one day more. I did not leave the house today. I will not leave the house tomorrow. One day more, I will not leave my house till May. Do you have TP I could borrow? One more day all on my phone. Will we ever meet again? One more day of posts and sharing. I was bored today, were you? What a life I might have known. And I swear I miss you too. But I cannot go out there. One more day before the storm. Do I follow where they go? When we all will gain our freedom. Shall I join my brothers then? When the weather starts to warm. Do I stay or do I dare? Will you take your place with me? We're not allowed one day unclear. One more day of isolation. We will nip it in the bud. We will flatten out the curve now. We will help to stem the flood. Wiping down the bags, wiping down the cart, suiting up to venture to the grocery mart. Here a little mask, there a little glove. Please to keep your distance, I don't want to shove. One more day of so much winning. I can smell the freedom now. It will all be gone by spring. It will all be gone by spring. The economy is spinning. There's a bailout to be done. Did you see the market swing? I'll stay right here. We will get through. One day more. I'm gonna face heroes to heroes. I'm gonna cut red funds. We're the less of their experience. There's still love to one day more. We're the less of their estimation. Basic is the distance that I want to shove. You have taken me out. Tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow feels like worlds away. Tomorrow we'll discover how much longer Cuomo shuts the stores. One more gone, one more case, one day
Now, the irony embedded within the video we just watched is the idea of one day more. Those of us exhausted by working in a pandemic are overwhelmed by the day after day grind, juggling too much and worn down by uncertainty. On the other hand, there are those of us mired in boredom, in loneliness, in isolation, finding each day dragging forever, stretching out like a string of taffy, which is never ending. How do we find peace when stressed by either too much or by too little? First, I believe we need to embrace the concept of taking enough rest for ourselves, but more importantly, time for our souls. However, we don't need to just schedule our rest. We need to give adequate time for recovery, for restoration. That is the beauty of Advent. We wait, we rest, we recover. Consider that the words listen and silent are spelled with the same letters. When we think about that, it gives us the motivation to take the time for our own soul restoration. Listen to the words of Annie Dillard, author, poet, and essayist. At a certain point, you say to the water, "Now I am ready. Now I will stop and be wholly attentive." You empty yourself and wait, listening. After a time, you hear it. There is nothing here. The silence is all there is. It's the Alpha and the Omega. It is God brooding over the face of the waters. It is the blended note of 10,000 things, the whine of wings. You take a step in the right direction to pray to this silence and even to address the prayer to creation. Distinctions blur. Quit your tents, pray without ceasing. After all, we are experiencing vast change, deep trauma, and continuous drama, far faster than at any time before in human history. This pace creates anxiety that has many of us feeling disoriented, unsettled, and wondering if this is how to live our best lives. Seminal psychologist and theoretician Carl Jung, one of the great explorers of humanity's inner life, described a conversation he had with an indigenous American chief named Mountain Lake, whom Jung regarded as a kindred spirit. Likely because of their deep mutual respect, Mountain Lake gave Jung a very frank assessment of the way his people perceive European settlers. Their eyes have a staring expression, the chief observed. They are always seeking something. What are they seeking? The whites always want something. They're always uneasy and restless. We do not know what they want. We do not understand them. We think they are all mad. Young asked Chief Mountain Lake to elaborate. They say they think with their heads, responded Mountain Lake. Young replied, why, of course, what do you think with? Chief Mountain Lake took a little while to respond. Then he placed his hand on his chest and breathed quietly. We think here. Chief Mountain Lake's wisdom revealed the key to peace. God speaks to us from within our hearts. Peace begins with the task of making ourselves whole. The tragedy is that we place too little value on our wholeness. We fail to take the time, to make the time for reflection. Christmas in our culture has come to mean shop till you drop. We look for external rewards, for things, for outside stimulation. We claim busyness as a virtue instead of as a burden. We are so busy doing that we have little or no time for being. And it doesn't deepen our wholeness or our peace. Oh, sure, those of us who can afford it have explored the world. We have encountered many diverse cultures and discovered the incredible variety of plants and animals on the earth. It has kept us busy and entertained, but it has not always deepened our experience of being. So we still ourselves, we breathe. We take the time for contemplation, for prayer, for silence, for listening. We make the time to explore our inner world. Indeed, I would claim that the survival of our outer world depends on our ability to reconnect with our inner world. It is only when we realize that we are enough that we finally understand that we have enough. That is when we truly understand peace. However, let me be clear. Peace does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, no trouble, no hard work. Instead, it means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in our hearts. Like Charlie Brown says, maybe this is not the Christmas to ask for everything we want, Linus. Maybe this year we just need to be thankful for all we have. Instead of getting caught up inside our heads, as Mother Teresa once said, instead of worrying about the numbers, let us reach out to help one person at a time. And always start with the person nearest to you. Who is that person nearest to you? Why, it's you. Take time for yourself. It is not selfish because it is the path to preparing yourself as a vessel for wholeness, to fulfilling yourself through wholeness. Find peace in the becoming. For our time of prayer, I want to share a video with you that features a chant from the Taizé community in France. Before the pandemic closed our church building, we hosted a prayer service featuring the music of Taizé. This is one of the songs we use, and it fits seamlessly with the season of Advent as a season of waiting, of preparation, and of peace. Let the music fill you as the words wash over you. I pray that we find peace by centering deep within our souls. Take heart, wait for the Lord, give time for peace and wholeness within you. I can hardly wait for Terry Boyd to upload this to our YouTube channel so that you can watch it. So thank you, Terry, so much for making this rendering to our YouTube channel and for keeping our YouTube channel relatively uncluttered so that everything that's there is relatively current. I really appreciate it. I leave you with a blessing written by Bruno Manser of Switzerland on page 143 of the book, Prayers for 1,000 Years. Manser, after emerging from the rainforest in Sarawak, Malaysia, was declared Defender of the Penang people because of his public activism for rainforest preservation and for the rights of human indigenous peoples. Manser came to his life's passion after finding peace amidst the indigenous Penang tribes during his work as a cultural anthropologist. Here's his blessing. You, the power of creation, giver of life, guide us on our way. Where there is pain, bring comfort. You, where there is hunger, bring food. You, where there is quarrel, bring love. You, all of us together, you. I pray that you find peace during the coming week. Until the next Fireside Chat, stay safe, stay well, and make time for soul deep restoration. Goodbye until next week.